Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you once again for joining us. Do you ever wake up with a pang of regret, realizing you spent the entire night scrolling through cat videos instead of tackling that overdue project? Or maybe you find yourself reaching for that third slice of cake, promising yourself that this is the last one. But history tells a different story, right? Hey there. We have all been there and questioned ourselves what we can do on how to avoid such a bad habit. So bad habits are like pesky house guests. They overstay their welcome, wreak havoc on our lives, and leave us feeling grumpy and defeated. So, welcome. This is your official declaration of independence from the tyranny of bad habits. So, this is not your grandmother's dusty guide to self-improvement. We are talking about a vibrant, action-packed manifesto for hacking your brain and rewiring your routine. So in this episode, we will dissect the anatomy of bad habits and expose those tricks, those sneaky tricks, and equip you with tools to help you break free from a habit that you've been wanting to avoid or to overcome, and help you build a life that is brimming with awesomeness. So forget the willpower ways, because you've tried them and they've not worked. We are talking of, in this episode, understanding the why behind your habits, uncovering the hidden triggers that make them tick, and I want to help you replace them with positive routines that empower and energize you. All right? So whether you are a nail biter, or a procrastination pro, or a champion of late night snack attack, this episode is your battle cry. So join me in this great episode as we debunk common myths to equip you with actionable strategies to conquer and avoid the bad habit and cultivate the good one. So I'll talk quite a few things here and there. I'll tell you how you can identify your bad habits. How do you identify them? Because probably we might have been doing things and we've not been aware that those are bad habits and they are doing a negative to our lives. I'll also tell you how bad habits start and take root, the science behind it. I'll give you the benefits of breaking bad habits. Now, breaking a bad habit can take quite a long time. So how long does it take to break a bad habit? I'll help you answer that question. Why are some habits so hard to break? There are some habits maybe that you've been trying to break, but it has proven to be hard. Why? And how can we now declare independence from that? How do habits affect your brain? How do you start a new habit? And ways to avoid bad habits so that you can have a flourishing life. I will also give you 5 powerful books that can help you also deepen your knowledge on how to build or how to avoid a bad habit. So does this sound like an episode that has something for you? I know it must be having something for you. So dive with me from VidanMeds. This is your host Daniel, and our work is to ensure that we help you discover your purpose, nurture it, and even fulfill it better in a better way to the world. So how do you identify your bad habits? We all have them, including me. There are sometimes that we have those pesky little routines that chip away at our goals. They steal our times and leave us feeling like we are stuck in a rut. We all have them. But before we can conquer any bad habit, we have to know that they do exist, all right? So how do you identify those bad habits? You want to conquer them, you want to avoid them, you want to become a better person, all right? So the first thing that you should know is how you can identify them. Do you really know that you have bad habits that are existing? Do you really know that? So how can you identify those bad habits? Number one, the guilt gauge. So does a certain activity leave you feeling like you've just ate a whole jar of cookies and promised to do the dishes afterwards, but you never did. Guilt is a red flag. It's a neon sign that is flashing. That's a bad habit that has been detected. So listen to its insistent blaring and jot down the culprit. So what makes you be guilty? You feel that guilt. That's a red flag. Note that down. That's how you identify if what you've been doing is a bad habit. Number 2, the time thief. Do you ever feel like time melts away like butter on a hot pan? Track your activities for a day and see where those precious minutes go. Are you doom scrolling? That is scrolling mindlessly? Or are you scrolling on social media mindlessly? Are you procrastinating with a vengeance? Unmasking those time drainers can help you reveal the hidden habit monsters, right? So what has been stealing your time? What has been your time thief? Not that. So number 3 is to identify your energy drain. Do you have an activity that in a certain way, after you do it, leaves you feeling like a deflated balloon after a helium party? Notice that, because that activity that zaps your energy and motivation, maybe it's the late night snacking that leaves you sluggish, or even the endless social media browsing that fries your brain. Identify that. That's how you identify the bad habit. Check your health. Pay attention on how your body speaks. Does that extra spicy cake leave you battling heartburn? Does sitting hunched over your laptop give you backache that could rival Atlas burden? Your body will often send early warning signals about habits that are jeopardizing your well-being. So listen to your body. And number 5, the last one, is the feedback loop. Ask your loved ones. Sometimes those closest to you can see blind spots with a clarity that you can't. So they can tell you that you've been addicted to phone. They can tell you that you've been addicted to these habits. So ask your loved ones. So those are 5 powerful ways on how you can identify whether you have bad habits or what you've been doing is really a bad habit. Remember, we've said before you can start conquering them, you have to identify or know that they really exist. So look at something that makes you feel guilty. Look at something that has been stealing your time. All right? Look at something that after you do it, you feel that like a deflated balloon. Something that is draining your energy. Look at something, your body will always keep the score. It's also a title of a book, right? So look at your body. Your body will speak to you. Your body will keep you will keep the score, and it will send those warning signals earlier so that you don't jeopardize your well-being. So listen to your body. Also, look at the feedback, or listen from the feedback from your loved ones or the closest people that you have, because they can always see blind spots with the clarity that you can't see. All right. So those are 5 main ways that you can use to identify if you have negative habits that are existing without your knowledge. All right. But how do those bad habits come about? How do they start and take root? All right. So bad habits, just like a neglected campfire, they often start seemingly harmless. All right. We indulge in those activities one night, 2 nights, one cookie in a night. You skip one workout, or we mindlessly scroll through social media for just a few minutes. But little do we know that those insignificant actions, if they are unchecked, can ignite a full-blown habit inferno, right? They can leave us wondering how we got in such a mess. So how does this innocent spark become a master of mischief in our life? The small habit that starts harmlessly, without your knowledge, how does it become so rooted in your life such that it becomes a master of your life? So it begins with the craving cocktail. So that's how it begins. So our brains are wired for pleasure. Your brain or your mind is wired for pleasure. It's not for pain or bad things. It's wired to give you pleasure and to maybe protect you, right? So certain activities such as indulging in something which are sugary or getting a dopamine hit from social media releases a cocktail of feel-good chemicals. This creates a craving loop where we seek those activities to repeat the pleasure experience. So know that this thing starts with your brain. Your brain is designed to give you pleasure. So it will always look for those things that will give you feel good chemicals or feel good moments. All right? It will go on looking for those things. All right? And how does your brain know that something is a feel good to you? It goes through your 5 senses. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you taste? Or what do you feel? Those senses. Have I missed any sense? Any of the senses that we have as human beings? So that's how the mind knows if something is a pleasure to you. All right? What you see with your eyes, what you hear with your ears, what you smell. I think I had forgotten that. What you smell, what you taste, and even what you feel. All right? Then it comes down to the repetition ritual. Remember, we're talking about how bad habits begin and how they take root. It begins with you want some pleasure. Your mind wants to give you those feel-good moments. So as we repeat those pleasure actions, our brains start forming neural pathways, just like well-worn trails in a forest. If you look in a forest, maybe you can have so many trails that are going in a certain direction, or you can just call them paths. So that's how the brain now, after we do that pleasuring activity for long, that's how the brain starts forming those paths. We are calling them neural pathways. Those pathways make the habit easier to perform over time, like muscle memory for bad behavior. All right. Then we go to now the number 3, level 3, the trigger trap. So certain cues such as stress or boredom or the sight of a tempting dessert can act as triggers, activating those paths, those neural pathways that we've talked about, and sending us down the familiar habit lane. So these triggers become like tripwires waiting to catch us off guard. So it begins with your brain. We need some pleasure. So your brain suggests some things or some activities that at one point gave you pleasure, and that's where you go to. Then you do that repeatedly over time. Unknowingly, your brain is creating some paths for it to reach that pleasure in an easier way. Then, with time, we get some triggers here and there. For example, negativities, things that does not bring pleasure to your life, such as stress because of some work, or maybe you've quarreled with your friend or your partner, boredom, or something that is tempting you. Those are triggers. So then your brain activates those paths, the neural pathways, and they are promising to take you through a lane that will give you the pleasure that you really want, right? Then we come to the reinforcement reward. When we engage in a bad habit and get our dopamine fix, it reinforces the behavior. So you are having something that was stressing you. It reminded you, you are triggered, right? So you went for that pleasurable activity or something that maybe you ate. You had that dopamine fix, the feel-good hormone. And then your brain tells you, you see? So your brain whispers, you see? That made you feel good. So let's do it again next time and again and again. And that positive reinforcement makes us more likely to repeat the habit, even if the long-term consequences are negative and we are aware of them. All right. Then now you go to your habit that has taken root. You now work on autopilot. All right. So over time, that habits become more ingrained. as you do them on autopilot, even without you thinking. You scroll through social media while you are waiting in a line. You reach for chips even without realizing that you are doing it. Or you procrastinate like it's an Olympic sport. So if you understand those, that how habits develop and start and take root in our lives, you can start taking a crucial step to break free from that. So that knowledge of recognizing the early sparks, avoiding the trigger traps, and rewriting the neural narrative can really help us into becoming masters of what you want to become. So we began by talking of how you can identify if you have bad habits. Do you remember the 5 ways, main ways? Now I've given you another 5 ways on how bad habits, or habits, whether good or bad, take root. They start and take root. All right. So of course, you know, there are so many benefits of breaking bad habits. They make you healthier. They make your mind sharp. They help you build a strong willpower. They help you live a stress-free life, and you live more, of course. They make you very happier, because you are breaking bad habits is about making choices that align with your values and goals. So that's where your happiness comes from. And your relationships with others shine. When you are at your best, your relationships will always thrive. When you've broken bad habits and you are now into good habits, you will always see that you will attract good relationships. Your relationships will shine. All right? And then you'll have time for what matters to you. Whether it's your family, your job, your career, your passion, your purpose, you'll have that time. All right? So there are so many benefits. Of course, I'll not go through them. Please, we have a summary of this, a write-up summary of this episode. You can check in our description below, or simply go to our website vidanmeds.com/blog, how to avoid bad habits. It's there. It's an in-depth write-up of this episode. So I'll not go through in-depth of the benefits of breaking bad habits. Please go and check on that. So how long does it take to break a bad habit? Let me help you answer that question. That's $1 million question, my friends. It's like climbing Mount Everest. All right? How long does it really take to ditch those unwanted routines and embrace a positive change? Well, that answer is, you can never get a direct answer, because there is no magic or one size that fits all time frame. Because breaking a bad habit is like training for a marathon. It depends on your unique course, the terrain you are navigating, and even the the weather conditions. All right. So it depends with this time frame, because research suggests that it can take from between 18 days to 254 days. 18 to 254 days to break a habit. But that's a broad range. All right? But we can consider a spectrum of possibilities. That's deadline of 18 to 254 days. We don't have a definitive time frame for that. It all depends we've talked of the complexity of the habit. How complex is the habit? How complex is that habit that you want to break? Your willpower. Some people will possess stronger willpower than others. So others will need a bit of encouragement and support. All right? Then it also depends on presence of triggers. So the more triggers you face, such as stress, boredom, and social cues, the more challenging it will be for you to resist the habit. Then it will also depend on your habit system. So that time frame that you are talking of, between 18 to 254 days, it will depend on those 4 factors. All right? But between those 18 to 254 days, why don't we look at maybe what can happen, or the stages of breaking that bad habit? You can talk of between 18 to 25 days. We can call that as the honeymoon phase. That's where the initial enthusiasm and willpower might carry you through. However, some cravings and triggers can still come around, so be ready for some challenges and some temptations here and there. So you've decided that I want now to change this habit. The first days, between 18 to 25 days, that's the honeymoon phase. You are very determined. Your willpower is at the highest. You are very enthusiastic about that. You are really into changing that bad habit. When we go to 26 to 60 days, we go to the reality check zone. So you have now come out from the honeymoon phase with the reality check. Remember, that's between 26 to 60 days, around 3 months, all right? No, 2 months, of course. So that's the reality check zone. So your enthusiasm and your willpower might start wearing off, all right? And you might start having some doubts here and there. But remember, at that time, consistency is the key. Sticking to your new routine, even if you stumble, is crucial for progress. Sincerely speaking, you will stumble along the way. But if you are passionate, you have your willpower, and you are consistent, that obstacles will always come. You will make it. Let's go to 61 to 90 days. Now you are at 3 months. That's where you have the plateau phase. So the progress might seem slow, but you should not be discouraged. This is where long-term neural pathways are being rewritten. So, and lasting change is brewing beneath the surface. So you've survived the reality check. Maybe you've missed 1 or 2 times. It's still okay. Consistency is the key. Now you enter into the plateau stage. It might seem so slow, but remember, you are rewiring the paths, the neural pathways that you had created earlier. So there's something that is happening beneath the surface, but trust the process. That's the plateau phase. Then you go to beyond 90 days. Congratulations, you have entered the maintenance zone. Your new positive habit is starting to feel natural, and the old one feels increasingly unfamiliar. Keep up the good work. So remember, those are just general estimates, and you have your mileage that may vary. Your mileage may vary. So some habits might take less time, others may require a very prolonged effort. But the key is, we've said, is to be patient, be kind to yourself even if you mess around, and to celebrate every victory even if it is so small. That keeps you motivated, all right? But of course, some habits will be very hard to break. Probably you've tried, and that's something that has been a challenge to you. With those bad habits that are so darn hard to break. So they cling to us like stubborn weeds, sprouting back up even after we think we've pulled them out of the roots. Even after you think that you've pulled them out completely with their roots, they still come out. They still sprout back. They are like stubborn weeds. But if we can understand how the science behind that, then of course we can know how we can now comfortably and successfully get rid of them. Understand the science behind the reasons why some habits feel like they are glued to your brains, that they don't want to go in any way. So understand the dopamine deluge. Certain activities like sugary treats or endless scrolling flood our brains with so much dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter. That creates a powerful craving loop, making us chase that pleasurable hit again and again. It's like a drug. So it's like a brain on sugar rush, demanding another fix. Alright, so sugary treats or endless scrolling or things that gives you more dopamine, that one becomes challenging to break. Alright, so the neural pathways might also be so ingrained in your brain. So every time we create or we repeat a bad habit, we strengthen those paths. All right, so it's like going deeper in record. The easier it is to follow, the more challenging you will have to break that habit. Right, breaking free means you have to build new pathways, and that might take time and dedicated effort. All right, then also understand the trigger trap. We had also talked to that, the power of positive reinforcement and the comfort of familiarity. All right, so in our blog you'll understand about the science behind why some bad habits are hard to break. All right. Now, of course, you still have how habits affect your brain. We've talked about that, and you can still have an in-depth of that from a summary. But let me go on how, as try to wind up this episode. How do you start a new habit? How do you start a new habit? So I'm hoping that by now you've banished the bad habits, you've cleared the neural highway, and now you are ready to plant the seeds of positive change. Assuming that now you've worked out your bad habits, you've rewired the neural pathways, that highways, and now you want to plant other seeds, new seeds of positive change. Where do you begin? How do you nurture those tiny routines into flourishing habits that stick together? Let's wind up this episode with that part. So start small and dream big. Do not overwhelm yourself with a marathon when you can start with a brisk walk. Just walking, not a marathon. Begin with small, achievable goals. Do you want to exercise? Start with 10-minute walks before aiming for even the gym. Craving a healthier diet? That's what you want? Just swap one sugary treat for a piece of fruit. Small wins help you build the momentum and confidence, paving the way for bigger changes. Alright? Make it smart is another way. Make it smart. Set goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. Do you want to get healthier? Getting healthier, just saying I want to get healthier is a vague goal. The smart one, if you want to get healthier, a smart goal could be, I will walk 30 minutes 3 times a week, and within a year, this is what I want to have achieved. Right? That's clear and actionable. 30 minutes for 3 weeks. Smart goals give your brain a roadmap for success, increasing your chances of reaching your destination. Find out your why is number 3. Find out why. What fuels your desire for that change? Is it to improve your health? Is it to improve your productivity? Or is it simply to have a sense of accomplishment? If you connect your why with the habit that you want, it will provide you with an emotional engine that will keep you going, especially when challenges come, because they will. So celebrate every step. You have to do that, because celebrating progress reinforces the positive loop, making you feel more lively and likely to keep going. Ensure you track your progress. Metrics are very, very important. Seeing your success, even the tiny ones, will fuel your motivation and provide tangible reminder of how far you have come. So track them, keep them. Always have time to look at that chart, that habit tracker, that journal, or a simple chart to monitor your progress. Ensure that you embrace the slip-ups, because they will come. You will stumble. Do not let one missed workout or a sugary treat derail your entire journey. That's just a tip on the iceberg. So find your tribe, surround yourself with supportive people, and share your goals. Join a fitness class, an online community, or find a friend who is also working on a new habit like you. Sharing the journey with others provides encouragement and accountability and a sense of belonging. All right. So in our blog, you'll learn more about that. You'll also look at some of the habits to avoid when, or what habits you should avoid when you are now building that new habit. All right. So I have quite a number of them. I have around 8 of them. Bad habits, or things that you should avoid, things that are weeds to a now good habit that you are building. So the 5 powerful books that you can read to deepen your knowledge on how to break a bad habit. We have 5 books for you. Atomic Habits by James Clear, The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg, Better Than Before by Gretchen Rubin, and number 5, Deep Work by Cal Newport. We have summaries of all these books that I've mentioned, especially except Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg. So all those summaries are there in our website, vidanmeds.com/blog. You can search in the search bar in there any of those summaries, any of those books that I've mentioned. You'll find them in depth and you'll get a better understanding of them. So that was all about how you can avoid a bad habit, and I hope you've gotten the value. I hope now you are a better person, you are better placed to start charting a new path in your life. So from Vidan Meds, I was your host Daniel, and until next time, continue supporting us, continue growing, becoming better, and embracing the change that you really want. Bye bye for now.